Falsely accused. The Brian Banks story. In 2002, Brian Banks was a 17-year-old high school football star with a promising future ahead of him. Unfortunately, his life took a drastic turn when he was falsely accused of kidnapping and raping a female classmate. Despite maintaining his innocence, the combination of poor legal counsel, lack of investigative work, and a broken justice system resulted in Banks being convicted and spending over 5 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Man, that gotta be one of the worst feelings. That gotta be one of the worst feelings to be in prison, to be locked up, and caged for something you did not even do. This is why, it's important for us to take heed to the scriptures. The scriptures tell you everything you need to know about, what could come of these women just when it comes to the left. Because, it's a lot of good women out here, but when it comes to, that base aspect of her, you gotta expect the worst because it tells you there's no wickedness like the wickedness of a woman. There's no wickedness like the wickedness of a woman. So you have to be aware of, what could come from that type of vibration just in terms of the left hand. Because, like I said, you got a lot of good women out here, but you have a lot of shitty, fucked up women out here who would do something like this. It's crazy. But just reading on, Banks' story is a powerful example of the injustices that can occur within the criminal justice system. His incredible story of wrongful conviction and eventual exoneration is the focus of the latest series of Legal Talk Network's New California Innocence Project podcast. So I'm guessing they just went into this whole story. A promising football star's tragic turn of events. In his junior year at Long Beach Poly High, Brian dominated the football field as a linebacker. He had verbally accepted an offer to play at the University of Southern California with a full ride scholarship at just 16 years old. So he had everything going for him. His future was bright. And this is kind of like that same type of, it's like that same type of cycle. Just when it comes to these type of stories where you have someone who's promising and then they get into some bullshit and, their life take a turn for the worse. But then they're able to, come back and they're reborn. Part of this is it could be esoteric because he goes to jail at 18. We already know 18 is 666. What was the real reason for her to, reach out to him and confess? What was the real reason behind that? Was this all ritualized? I always ask these questions, especially when it comes to certain numerological significances and just the oddity of these things. Like this woman out of nowhere just comes back and confessed that, no, you didn't rape me. I lied and I just wanted some money, so on and so forth. It's just like, it's weird. Because they sued this brother, they were able to get a payout. But what was the reason for her to confess? She felt probably guilty, maybe. That probably was the reason why she felt that she should confess because of guilt. Could be that. And one of the brothers who sent me this, he told me, he was like, yo, listen, that's of the Most High. That's something that's supernatural. And yes, it is a blessing, the Most High able to intervene in such a way. But it's always something that I conjure up just when it comes to me being inquisitive about these things on an esoteric level. But nonetheless, it's a story that's important for us to note because these things, they occur all the time when it comes to the so-called black man. These type of, occurrences where things just are unfair and he gets a raw deal. At just 16 years old, Brian had everything in the world to look forward to. However, all of this came crashing down when he was falsely accused and wrongfully convicted of sexually assaulting a fellow classmate, Vanetta Gibson. It's very unfortunate that this brother had to go through what he went through, man. Very, very unfortunate. You see these type of issues all the time with a black man, like I said, just giving a raw deal. It's very, very unfortunate, man. A false accusation and an impossible choice. Although there was no DNA found on the accuser of her clothing, no eyewitness testimony, and no other evidence to support Gibson's claims, Brian was arrested for the crime. After months of awaiting trial, Banks was urged to take a plea deal by his lawyer, who believed that he would be unable to win his case in court. At just 17 years old, Bryan was being tried as an adult. He faced an impossible decision: either fight the charges against him and risk spending 41 years to life in prison, or accept a plea deal for a shorter sentence and serve time in prison for a crime he didn't commit. You serving time in prison for a crime you didn't commit, and you gotta look at the crime. You gotta take into account the crime. So you go into jail and you got certain people in jail, like certain inmates who find out what he did or find out what he was accused of or what he was charged with. You never know how he was treated in jail, man. I hope it was, the story was big enough for certain inmates to understand what happened to him and how he was wrongfully accused, but I doubt it. You know, it's crazy that, you have these situations like this where the so-called black man has to go through this and he didn't do a damn thing. I know I keep, reiterating this. I sound a little redundant, but it's just crazy, man, when you think about it. Like, just crazy, man. Out of fear and pressure from his lawyer, Bryan pleaded no contest to the charges and was sentenced to a decade of prison and probation. Bryan went to the prison on his 18th birthday. He was 18 years old, and this was his birthday. He went to jail on his birthday. That's just crazy. That's like insult to injury. Marking the first day of what would be a long and challenging 5-year prison sentence. Like I said, it's kind of like that same type of story, that arc, just when it comes to the similarities between these type of occurrences, where the so-called black man, he goes through something with a woman, whether it be some sort of sexual encounter, and for the most part, it's consensual, and for some reason, he gets given a raw deal where, she want to claim that he raped her or he sexually assaulted her, and he gets locked up, and he has to be forcefully, encaged for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years for something he did not even do. That could really, really be traumatic for somebody, man. Remember what happened with Khalif Browder? It's just crazy, bro. It's just crazy. So, it's one of those things where I could only imagine how a person would be feeling, especially knowing that they did not even do the crime that they was accused of, that they was charged with. It'd be one thing if it's like you did that, so it's like, okay, let me eat this, but you didn't do anything and you still gotta go to jail. Like, that shit is just, that's tough. That's tough. You know. From exoneration to the NFL, Bryan Banks' incredible journey. After his release from prison and nearly a decade after the alleged crime, Banks' accuser reached out to him on social media. See, what would make her want to reach out to him on social media? Was she guilty? You know? Beyond the surface, was this a ritual where she had to reach out to him in order for her to complete the ritual? Because it kind of gives you that story of like rebirth. Also gives you that story of like the caterpillar blossoming into the butterfly. Remember, he goes to the Falcons. You already know what the Falcons represent. The Falcons represent Horus. The Falcons represent Horus. Horus represents rebirth. Even during the Renaissance period, that was something that was synonymous with the worship of Horus. We already know Renaissance means rebirth. So it kind of gives you that rebirth element. Where it's like you go to prison and that's like your death, but then you come out and you're reborn and you have a second chance. Nonetheless, man, it's still sad what happened with this brother, because even though I'm talking about the ritualistic aspect of it, that doesn't mean that this person was in on it, obviously. It just means that this person had to be the subject for use. It's almost along the lines of, the Central Park Five, with the 5 young black boys or 5 young kids from New York. Part of that was Masonic, but it's almost along the lines of that, where it's like you just giving a raw deal. So where were we? Banks' accuser reached out to him on social media. She confessed to Brian and his legal team that she had lied. It's crazy, bro. With the help of the California Innocence Project and his accusers' recanted testimony, Banks was able to have his conviction overturned in 2012. Following his exoneration, Banks sought to resume his dream of playing football in the summer of 2012. Brian received tryouts with several NFL teams, including the Kansas City Chiefs, San Diego Chargers, and San Francisco 49ers. Banks signed with the Atlanta Falcons on April 3rd, 2013. And although he only played 4 preseason games with the Falcons before being released, Banks was able to fulfill his longtime dream of playing in the NFL. You know, and that's a beautiful thing for the brother, man. It's a beautiful thing. So I wanted to get into this video, though.
What I want to say is that anyone who thinks that women are out there reporting, doing false reports of rape needs to ask the woman closest to them in their lives about this. Ask a woman that you know if she would do that, or if she thinks that other women would do that, and you will get the answer no.
He's Brian Banks, the high school football star whose life was derailed when he was convicted of rape, a rape he didn't commit.
And this is the private eye who helped him get a second chance by getting the confession that exonerated him, setting him free.
Well, tonight, the inside story of how Brian Banks got his accuser to admit on hidden camera that she lied about his raping her.
Tonight, the I-Team's Joel Grover joins us with this exclusive story. Joel, it's just remarkable.
It absolutely is. And the man you're about to meet has so far stayed out of the limelight. But tonight, that's about to change. Now, Private Eye Freddie Parrish is telling the NBC4 I-Team how this amazing undercover sting went down that helped make Brian Banks a free man.
You know, she falsely accused his brother, and this brother had to serve time. You know, why can't she be held accountable for what she did, for her actions? She lied. She should be in jail. It's crazy what they do, man. What they let women get away with in this world, bro. You know, like, you lied about being raped. You know how fucking serious that shit is, and this person doesn't go to fucking jail? Are you fucking serious? These females, they get to kill their fetuses. They could lie on a nigga and nigga go to jail for fucking 5 years and nothing happens to her. It's like, it's fucking crazy. This is why it's important for us to take our time with these fucking females. Because they could get you in a lot of fucking trouble. And I speak with indignation right now because it's fucking wrong what happened to this brother. And it's also wrong what these females, these chicks, these fucking women in this Babylonian society get the fuck away with. You see, I talk like this only because I'm in fucking Babylon. If we was in the kingdom, I would not be talking like this. Just crazy, man.
I do not know nothing about sex, so.
You're watching never before aired video of Juanetta Gibson and Brian.
I do not know nothing about sex, so.
You're watching never before aired video of Juanetta Gibson and Brian Banks in the minutes before her stunning confession that she lied when she said the high school football star raped her 10 years ago.
This camera right here was in a plant.
This is the man who helped Banks get the now famous confession on hidden camera. Private investigator Freddie Parrish.
There's only one chance to get the goods. I mean, you got to make it right the first time.
Parrish's son played football with Brian Banks at Long Beach Polytechnic High in 2002, the time Juanetta Gibson made her false rape accusation. Gibson's family got $1.5 million settlement from the school district, and Banks got 5 years in prison and 5 more on parole, shackled with an ankle monitor.
So I know I'm not behind bars, and I know I'm not locked up right now, but I'm still very much incarcerated.
Then last year, Brian Banks got a Facebook friend request from Juanetta Gibson.
Mr. Banks called my son, Freddie, and asked him, what should I do? My son naturally says, hey, you got to call my dad. He'll help you with this. Once I was able to read the case, there was no doubt in my mind that this young man was innocent.
Parrish devised a plan to clear Brian Banks' name. He wired his office.
We had a pin like this.
With hidden cameras.
Sitting in this pin holder.
And with microphones.
We had put the audio device in that tree right there behind her. We saw
The private eye suggested Banks first invite Gibson to his office for a friendly chat about their past.
All the scholarships, everything.
Brian Banks asks Gibson for help in clearing his name.
I will go through with helping you,
But she's afraid of losing all that money from her settlement.
all that money they gave me, I don't want to have to pay it back, all that, because that will take a long time.
Now comes the hard part. Banks had to convince Gibson to come back the next day and talk to the private eye who was helping free him.
So she says that it would take a long time to pay that money back. Well, this is how you know that these women, they like little kids, man. They like little kids. They do not hold themselves accountable. They have no integrity. They have no integrity. Not all of them, but most of these females, they have no integrity. Oh, it's gonna take a lot for me to pay all that back. Well, shit. The same amount of time it's gonna take for you to pay that back was the same amount of time that you had that man in jail. And it'd probably take less of a time to pay that back, but you shouldn't be worried about that. You should be worrying about what you did to that man. Having that man in jail for fucking 5 years and he's on 5 years probation, and you talking about how much it's gonna take for you to, how long it's gonna take for you to pay the money back that you didn't even deserve to get in the first place. Oh my gosh, bro. Sometimes you just want to just go. Oh my goodness, bro, man. You get so heated with these type of stories because it's like, yo, I always say it, man, the female is a child. She's a child. This is why it's important for us to take our times with these women. Take our time with these women, man. Oh my gosh. Like the mindset, bro. The fucking mindset. It's going to take a long time for me to pay it back. Like, what are you talking about? You ain't even deserve the fucking money.
I needed to get her to basically recant everything that she said that Brian did 10 years ago. If I let this man down, I would have to live with that the rest of my life.
The mood in the room was light, but investigator Parrish's questioning got heavy.
When did you lose your virginity? Was it after him, before him?
After.
Now the big question.
Did he rape you?
No, he did not rape
Did he kidnap you?
No.
When she said those things, what did you say to yourself?
Wow, I got it.
It was the key evidence that Banks' lawyers from the California Innocence Project needed to go back to court. And that undercover video got Brian Banks' rape conviction thrown out. Banks' lawyer, Justin Brooks.
Well, the videotape is a slam dunk in the sense that she's recanting her testimony. She's specifically saying that he did not rape her.
Parrish has had big celebrity cases and well-known clients. But this assignment had a different kind of payoff.
Now, I had an opportunity to make a difference in a man's life.
And finally, what about Juanetta Gibson, who got all that settlement money after making a false accusation? We asked the DA's office and the school district if they plan to try and recover it. They wouldn't comment. But Banks' lawyer and private eye say most of that $1.5 million settlement has probably been spent.
Of course, most of it's been spent. And at the end of the day, how can you truly feel vindicated when this person is not disciplined in no way? Talking about the accuser. It's fucking crazy, bro. Now, I know this is an old story, so something probably had came from it just when it comes to disciplinary actions against the woman. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe nothing came from this. Just when it comes to holding a woman accountable in this situation. They just always get away with what they put a man through. They always get away with it. I ain't gonna say always, but for the most part, they get away with this shit, bro. That's why it's important to take your time. The woman's heart is like snares and nests, man. Snares and nests. There's no wickedness like the wickedness of the female. There's no wickedness like them. Not saying that they don't have beautiful, attributes or qualities about them, but when they in that wicked mode, they more wicked than anybody, anything. Once again, that scripture is not saying that the woman is a bad person or anything like that. It's just saying that when she's in that wicked vibration, she's more wicked than anybody. So take your time, man. Tread lightly.